Ba Bashers Sunday Mass. Good afternoon, everyone. It's 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am your host, Dirk Kennedy, and welcome to iBashers. It's the one day a week on the weekend that it's not Dirk weekdays, it's Dirk weekends. I'll change that title eventually. Get around mini steps, little baby steps. Who do we have in the room? We have Nick Sisto with $4.99. Hey, Dirk, happy Sunday, everyone. Well, happy Sunday to you, Nick Sisto, also one of my Patreons. Thank you so much. Also, let's give you a big bang for that. Let's see. The first one gets the big one. Let's do it. Let's do a. Thank you so much for the very first super chat of the Sunday Mass. Very exciting stuff. We've got the OC, everybody's favorite cohort from Tim Wright and many other channels. He's been a big personality in the watch world for a very, very, very long time. I know him, you know him, we love him. His name is the OC, and he's been dying to get he's been dying to get in my ear about the whole Kiss thing for quite a while. And now we have some kind of interesting news. That is, they sold their entire brand, catalog, IP, all this crap. More interestingly, though, enough is not just Kiss per se, but in general, music artists, when they get to the end of their shelf life, it seems like the going thing now is for them all to just cash out, which is fine. I just, I remember several actors, doing all these big fantasy movies, The Lord of the Rings and Downton Abbey, and all these kind of people that eventually start taking on these big money paydays for, work that is considered lesser for their dramatic talents and their Oscar winning histories, et cetera, et cetera. And, the actress of the prime of Miss Jean Brody, what's her name? Who's the Miss Jean Brody? What's her name? Maggie Smith. Sometimes my brain just doesn't work. Maggie Smith said when somebody asked her about Downton Abbey, they said, "Well, you've won an Oscar, you've got this illustrious career. Why a TV series?" And she goes, "Retirement, darlings," which is great. And I get it. Ladies and gentlemen, Andrew Wolkowicz is here, Canadian $5. Hello, everyone. Take a moment to share the show, upvote, and subscribe. And if you can, become a Patreon. Hey, you know what? That would be great. It helps me out in my quest for not having a boss anymore. I love doing the show. I love being here every night with you guys, except for Saturdays, pretty much, because I'm on Monday nights with Watch Fashion Police with the incredible Michaela de Chatillon and the big guy, Oisin O'Malley. And then, of course, on Friday nights, we do Classic Bashers. It's me and Ush. We bash it out. We have a couple of drinks. We get a little loose. We say things we regret. And that's just kind of what happens. So thank you, Andrew. And for that, we're going to give you the YouTube card. I also wanted to announce, and let me get this into my banners, that we have a brand new Patreon. Of course, we've got Jim Lassick, Andrew Wolkowicz, Go Moto Soto. Go Moto Soto, send me your address because I have a CD for you. And everybody got one but you. Nick Sisto, Complicated Time, Fergal McDermott, Nathaniel Hannon, my BFF Dana O'Malley, Lord Scotty H. Dean McKenzie, Al Benedetti, Angelo Minichello, and brand new Patreon, Gasman 308. Make yourself known, introduce yourself, let us all know everything about you because I don't and I want to, and that's just how it works. And thank you so much for that. We've got Dean in the room, the iBashtards are ready to go. Hey, CW watch enthusiast. Hey, Dirk, happy Sunday all. Happy Sunday all. Daniel Gutierrez is here. Bashers. It's funny. When I originally had come up with a tune, I sent it to Sheen, but he had already started one. So he mushed the two together and came up with the iBashers theme, which I absolutely love. He's like, "You're not going to like it." And I'm like, I loved it. Melly C is here. Hey, she's a twinsy with me. She's a Milgauss twin. She's got the exact same model I do. The black with the green crystal. We're not Z blue folks. We're the classic black. You can't see because I have a green screen. So it just looks like I've got the old one. Of course, the whole dial would be completely different, but it's beautiful. You can't see it because I use green screen, but who does? Andrew Olgovich, who doesn't like the Big Bang on occasion? Not sure. Dean, OC is one of the intelligent people. He's the intelligent. He's the. It'll be fun to pick his brain. We've talked about it for quite a while. Vasilios is here. Happy Sunday to all. Listen, we've talked about it a couple of times in passing, and apparently he's a big Kiss fan, and listen, I kind of am a sneaky Kiss fan. I've been like a Kiss fan since I was a little kid. Saw them in 1977. My older sister, she's 10 years older than me. She took me to see them. And it just created this lifelong, well, I took a very big break, though I kept listening to find out what was going on. I'm one of those people that makes lists and compiles intelligentsia and all that kind of shit. I like to be part of that little world where I know what's happening for the most part. I have not seen them since the reunion tour because I have no interest in seeing fill-ins. I've said this on the show. I'm not a very big fan. It's different if somebody dies and you have to replace them, but it's also very different when you just keep bringing people and it's a revolving door. Like Foreigner has nobody in their band right now. No Lou Graham, no Mick Jones, none of the, like, I don't know why anybody would go to see that, and it really makes me wonder about the aptitude of the rock going public, the very small amount of rock people that are left. Because why are you going to see that band that has none of their original members? You just attracted to the logo and the name and the just the brand. The brand speaks to you. I mean, I guess the same could be said for Yves Saint Laurent or Oscar de la Renta or any of these houses that have lost their creative force, or the brand was sold. Like Tom Ford just recently sold his entire brand. He's no longer creating anything for the Tom Ford brand, and somebody will be making it in lieu of him with his name slapped on it. That doesn't resonate with me. I was a big Tom Ford fan when he was at Gucci. I got into the fragrances. I have a bunch of the suits, a lot of the shoes. I liked the stuff. And then when he left, it just looked like an Italian whorehouse. And it has remained being like a Italian / hip hop whorehouse where everything's just glitzy and shiny and gold, and it just looks like something. It's like if you know the $20,000 pyramid, they give you these clues and you have to pose it as a statement. You have to go something Donald Trump would wear, and then the triangle would turn around. Horrible. But so Nathaniel Hannon's here with the super sticker, $5. Let's get the triangle because you love it. Mini super chat from Nathaniel Hannon on IBSHERS. Hey, Stefan Monosh, a friend of mine did the makeup for Kiss. Interesting. Did the makeup? What do you mean by that? Because they apply their own makeup. So I'm curious as to, is this the ill-fated, hotter than hell photo shoot when they were drunk, except for Gene, and had people apply Peter's makeup cuckoo, and on the first album Peter's makeup is all weird. Very, very few instances of those guys not applying their own makeup. Yeah. So, hey, Ray, in the west of Ireland, whew, serendipity. I like that. That's an interesting spelling. I made it, bash, in herself on mainland. Oh, you're in the mainland. Sunday couldn't get better. It couldn't get better because you're here. Thanks. JBB, $5. Here's the money. I would have put it in the collection basket at church today if I, of course, had been at church today. Well, I went to Easter Vigil, kind of meandered in there because, feeling low, feeling shit. Life's been weird and horrible. And then Laverne thing. And I went in there and I was kind of mad at God and stuff. I don't go to mass often or hardly ever. And there was like all this music, pipe organ and beautiful choral music and amazing tenor at my church. I went in there, the lights were out. It was all candlelit. It was really, really great. And I skedoodled before the basket hit it. So because I was like, I'm in here too long. I just went out to get Diet Coke. Let's do a time it because I love to use the big explosion. It's a very fun thing to do. Andrew says, but when most people hear an orchestra, the members change over time. If the music is played the same, doesn't matter. That's a different story. That is you're generally listening to some dead classical composer, Bach, Beethoven, Bartok, or Rachmaninoff, Chopin, whoever. And these are all interpretations. And if you have the original manuscripts, the original scores, it might be a different story. But that's different. It's like, going to see Led Zeppelin and Stephen Pearcy is singing for them, or Scott Stapp or something horrific like that. That can be bad. Al Benedetti, you are a Patreon. Hey, Dirk, I received the rocking giveaways yesterday. I'm so glad. Made for a fun Saturday. My pleasure, and thank you for being a Patreon and a swell fella. Thank you so very much. Upvote and all that stuff. Yes, Patreons, you make the world go round. Thank you so much for all that. It's a growing little community and we love you. Thank you. Here's a gong. Bang a gong, get it on. Get it on. Thank you so much, Al Benedetti. So he's in the room. He's I can see him in the green room. I hope you're getting all the confections and cocktails that the ladies in the green room are here to give you. Ladies and gentlemen, he probably needs no introduction. You guys know him from several of the watch channels. I'm sure he's going to be wearing a beautiful timepiece today, more than likely. He knows a hell of a lot more about watches than I do. And let's see if he knows a hell of a lot more about Kiss than I do. Ladies and gentlemen, the OC. Hey,
Dirk,
buddy, how are you?
good to be with you this Sunday afternoon. Hope all is well. Hello to everybody in the audience.
You have great audio, nice and crisp and clear.
Thank you. Thank you. This is the shout out to Elgato microphone.
Oh, you got one of the Elgatos. That's a very popular one for people who do.
Yeah, it's cheap. Podcasts. It's like 150 bucks. And
wow.
The key thing with this one is it has two microphones. So if I talk super loud, it shifts to the other microphone to prevent peaking and popping. So it's pretty good.
That's some interesting.
But, I'm not one to raise my voice, Dirk. I'm very calm,
not?
as you know.
I am. I have one setup here because this is the studio where I do all my music. And so when I'm in StreamYard, which, by the way, guys, that's the program that we use to get the stream happening. It does this, it's got its own settings for audio. And when I want to record to sing stuff, I have to completely change the way because this is a condenser microphone. It's like a real mic that does that stuff. By the way, everybody, you asked, and I did. I went and I got one of the fancy boom stands, and it came with a pop screen. So I was like, I'm going to use that for a while. My mic stand broke the other day, and so I'm just getting used to positioning this thing. It's one of those swing arm thingies. I just had an old-fashioned Deeb studio mic stand, and now I have this. But blah bitty blah. That's just how it goes.
Yeah, when you record stuff, you have to turn on Pro Tools, you have to turn on autotune, you have to do all those things to try and get your voice to sound.
Yeah, autotune. I'll tell you something. If I were president, I would make it illegal. Because I'm tired of the charlatans getting away with murder. And you know what? Do you watch Rick Beato?
Yeah, I watch Rick Beato, and I also watch the British guitarist guy.
Wings of Pegasus?
Wings of Pegasus. He had a great show that popped up in my stream just last night. I was watching it. It was someone had sent him clips of the Eagles in concert over 2023 and 2024. Lo and behold, Don Henley is playing a tape of his voice.
Lead vocals?
Lead vocals, and he is lip syncing to not tape, but it's off of the drive. And
we call that in the industry, we call it the toaster.
Man, it was so disappointing. And he basically played the two isolated vocal tracks from both shows, and they're right on top of each other.
Yes. Yeah, he's an interesting guy. That's Rob from Wings of Pegasus, and I watch him all the time. He's a lovely guy, and basically he puts up like a kind of a schematic of what somebody's vocals doing, and he'll show somebody like Karen Carpenter, and it'll just be perfection.
It's like an EKG machine, but I'm not sure what they call it for the music industry, where it's showing you the exact notes that the singer is hitting.
Do you know how autotune was invented?
No, I don't.
It's very interesting. The guy who invented autotune, it was a mistake. He's a seismologist, and he was working on some kind of algorithms for, like we just had did you feel the earthquake?
No, I didn't. Actually, I was in my car at the time. Mrs. OC felt it, and then there was an aftershock, and I was home for the aftershock. She goes, "Did you just feel that?" I'm like, "Nope."
Wow. I had just started the Friday stream, and it like the whole it was during the intro it played. The earthquake happened, and it was 4.0, and the earthquake earlier in the day was 4.8. So I felt it very strongly, and I'm like on the other side of the East River. I'm right in Long Island City by the tunnel there. Right. So this guy, this seismologist, was working on something to predict earthquakes, and for some reason he was using like a kind of a chamber with microphones and a receiver on the other side, and it was showing the exact pitch of the signal. And he went, "Oh, that's very interesting." And he showed it to a musician friend, and he said, "Well, what if we manipulate that?" And that's how autotune was invented by seismologist.
It's like the guy who invented colliding atoms together, and then they go on to invent the nuclear bomb or whatever. Like he had no idea the result of his actions, the consequence of his invention.
I mean, I think most discoveries have to be my mistake. Like whoever like saw a lobster and said, "Let me eat that." Like, who would have ever thought to eat a lobster? This
Most of the foods and recipes, it's like whoever thought about making whatever it is or eating whatever.
all of
And
it, and all the sick stuff is French. Like all the
of course,
foie gras, and like let's strangle a goose and cut off its butt so it just liquefies on the inside so we can eat that. Like,
weird.
why would anybody do that? It's just blech. It's crazy stuff. So let's get into a little bit. I think it's the kiss the angle is, well, we would have saw that coming, right?
I didn't see it coming, and I was particularly hit hard by it. For those of you who didn't hear the news, within the last few days, Kiss announced that they were selling their entire brand, their catalog, their iconic trademarked designs, makeup designs, to a company called Pop House Entertainment for reported $300 million. Pop
Mhm.
House is the entity that is behind the ABBA, what's known as ABBA Voyage, which
Mhm.
is the ABBA uh,
Avatar
Avatar
show, yeah.
Avatar show, that which has been extremely popular and lucrative in, I think, whatever it is, Sweden or whatever, and they're going to be
It's in
taking it on the
London.
road. Is it in London? So it's in London, and they're planning on actually franchising it out and creating a touring version and putting a version in Las Vegas. And so those guys see hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue and merchandise associated with acquiring the trademarks associated with an end of life band that could potentially live on for decades and decades as a to multi generations in the future. So I get it. I understand. Kiss is different. I don't have any interest in seeing avatars. I don't know if anybody else does.
Well,
And
the idiots who went to see them the last 20 years do.
count me in that category, as I've been
I
a loyal
couldn't do
fan.
it. Like OC, I
I
couldn't.
know.
I'm prime, super prime, and like I was at the Palladium with the Eric Carr debut
Oh my
show.
god.
I
Yeah,
went to
yeah.
that show.
By the way, Stephen Monash said that I know the people who did the makeup. As Kiss fans, we know that Stephen Monash is in Australia. Kiss never even went to Australia till 1980.
Correct.
So was it an Australian person who was living in New York? I mean, tell us, like we know, like we don't fall for stories. We know everything.
Everything. Yeah.
We know everything.
I would just need a little bit more intel on that. I don't doubt that one day Ace was wasted and some girlfriend or some guy said, "I can help you," or that. But he was on a coke binge or whatever. But we all know that Kiss have always applied their own makeup. The only times I know of are the first album photo shoot and the shoot for Hotter Than Hell, because they were so smashed.
Right,
Everyone but Gene,
right.
including Paul, was wasted.
But you saw this coming. You saw that, hey, they've
Oh, I
retired from
totally did.
touring.
No, I
Oh,
knew it.
okay.
I knew it. I knew it. Listen, nothing. I know a couple of very close friends of mine work for the Kiss company for many years in a very high management capacity. So I've known about a lot of the deals that they've made that have come through and not come through, things that they were aspiring to do. It's always Gene, and then he always has to convince Paul, because Paul really and truly is more the artist out of the two. He's the guy
Mhm.
that really cares about the music and the band and all that stuff, as was evidenced by the late 80s, mid to late 80s, when Gene was chasing Hollywood and Paul was producing records by himself and trying to figure out how to keep the band alive, the brand thriving, because Gene didn't really care. He was just kissing Hollywood ass. But Gene, loves to make deals. He's like Trump in a way, the art of the deal. He loves deals. He loves figuring out ways around it. This was it. We knew that this was the end of the road. I've been told by some pretty good sources that there will be no one-offs, that's it. No more live shows, period. Now they've got these avatars, Benny. Is it Benny and Bjorn, or just Bjorn that owns
I think
Pop?
there's one of the guys. I'm not sure which one it is, but there's one of the guys who's the partner in Pop House Entertainment, the group that's behind the ABBA avatars, and
Right.
acquiring the rights to some other artists as well.
So I'm amazed that Benny didn't want to be a part of that. Benny's obviously the big music guy, the bigger music guy in ABBA.
Mhm.
He's the more classical composer, artist guy, and Bjorn is more of the hype guy. But the thing about ABBA is, we all know, ABBA's sold 300 and some odd million records. They broke up at the height of their career. They never got back together. But like a lot of people after they die, like Freddie Mercury, for example, Queen is bigger now. He's more of an icon now than he ever was in his lifetime. And that's incredible, considering that this guy, and Queen is my favorite band of all time. And I almost say that with trepidation now because of the whole Adam Lambert association. And I just think a lot of
I've seen them twice with Adam, and he's fantastic.
Never do that. Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. As a singer, I know that he's a fantastic vocalist. I just don't want to go see some drag queen fronting my favorite band. And as far as me, he just looks like a cheap sideshow floozy from some off the strip dance club. I mean, I saw a clip of him being fanned by Muscle Boys on the Shays Lounge. Like, listen, Freddie was flamboyant, but in a kind of a totally different way. It was so natural and it was so unique. Adam is so freaking cliche with all the makeup and the jewels, and he wears transgender clothing, and it's just so tight. Like, we always call them in the gay world, we say fifth string gays. He's like the guy that never gets called off the bench because he's just he uses every tired cliche in the book. Incredible singer. There's no doubt about this guy's got an absolutely flawless instrument. In a lot of ways, as sacrilegious as this may say, he's probably technically a far better singer than Freddie Mercury ever was. Freddie was busy hanging out at the mine shaft, getting peed on and doing a lot of coke and having to play Madison Square Garden the next morning. Adam Lambert's probably got his tea and his vocal coach, and it's a totally different world. He's an amazing singer, but I could never see it.
Yeah, but to your earlier point, I mean, bands like ABBA, bands like Queen are earning far more today than they ever were in the past. I mean, with touring, with merchandise, with licensing, I mean, it's not uncommon. I bet you that Queen can easily command $500,000 a night, a guarantee. Easy. They'd be lucky if they made $50,000 a night in the 70s and 80s.
Well, I mean, also let's talk about the price of tickets versus the show. I mean, the price of a ticket back then was probably commensurate with what the production costs were now. It is nowhere even close to it. It's ludicrous.
You grew up in the 70s and 80s where tickets were $7.50 to get into a concert.
All my tickets in my little book of shows that I went to, $9.50, $10.50, $11, no cans, no bottles. Ron Delsner presents. No flash photography. I think $15 was the highest before I kind of stopped going to shows quite along. Maybe after I got into a band, I started getting into shows for free, and then I stopped kind of going to shows because the music I loved was kind of dead, and everybody was either dead or replaced. Most of my favorite bands either broke up or somebody was dead. So I kind of stopped going to the big shows. I do go once in a blue.
I love the big shows, no matter who the artist is. And as a matter of fact, if I were in the city, I'd be going to see Olivia Rodrigo. She's in the middle of like a 4-night stand at Madison Square Garden. She's going to gross $12 million in tickets. She's going to gross another $5 million in merchandise. That's the kind of big money that's behind these things. So when you're talking about these big companies like Hypnosis buying the rights to Katy Perry or Justin Bieber or Neil Young or whomever, they're in it for the long haul. They're backed by venture capital. They're like, listen, over the next 50 years, we're going to be able to monetize this in a way, even without the artist being alive, in a way that yields us tremendous return on investment. So that's what these big paydays, these big cash outs are all about. It hits me personally to see Kiss do it, but
Kiss has a catalog though. Like I was looking at some stuff. Let me pull it up.
Kiss has nowhere near a catalog that, for example,
Katy Perry has. But nobody's gonna remember Teenage Dream, but they're gonna remember I Was Made for Loving You, and they're gonna remember Rock and Roll All Night. They're gonna remember that. They're not gonna remember Teenage Dream. But that music is so disposable. It's like I always had an argument with this, and this was my argument. In the 70s, Leif Garrett, David Cassidy, all these guys that were dominating the Bay City Rollers, they were all dominating the charts, big giant hits, hit after hit after hit, accumulating this giant catalog. But they weren't like sour grapes when they didn't win the Grammy Award. But yet, like Justin Bieber and people of his ilk are furious when they don't win accolades for being a great artist. Now, when did that switch? Like, when did these kind of not that I think that David Cassidy is a disposable pop artist, because I think he was a great singer, and some of those songs are written by some of the greatest songwriters. They're all from the Wrecking Crew. It's actually immaculate pop music. But like, Sean Cassidy and Leif Garrett and all that crap. Those guys were never like, I can't believe I didn't win the album of the year. But yet everybody in this new thing, they're all so mad when they don't win Grammy Awards. Like Beyonce, who has 27 undeserved Grammys or whatever that number is now, you know, for being a very mediocre artist with a whole giant consortium of writers and people, producers. I mean, you look on their record, you look on Elton John's record, it says Elton John, Bertie Taupin, produced by Gus Dungin. And that's it, kids. And then you look on her record, it's like the end of Star Wars. It's just a nonstop litany of all these people that had to get in there and make this record happen. Like Kanye West. I mean, a guy that I didn't know or care to know enough about because it's not my milieu. But my friend worked on one of his records. And I said, oh, hey, you worked on that. Everybody's telling me this guy's a genius. What is it I'm not hearing? And he said, no, you're hearing it. And I said, well, what exactly is going on here? He goes, listen, this guy came out. He said a couple of cool things. The industry got a hold of him, told him he was the Messiah. Then they put these things together. He goes, he worked on like My Dark Twisted Something Fantasy that everybody says is his best record. He goes, the guy was never there. He said, all these producers got together. They put the beats in, they put the samples in, they did all this stuff. They came up with some ideas. He came in, threw a couple things. Yeah. And left. So this happens to a lot of people down the line too. So when I saw the list of people selling their catalogs, and here's my question to somebody like you who keeps a far more active eye than I do on today's pop music scene. Like, I mean, what would I do in an Olivia Rodrigo other than feel like a pedophile? I mean, what would a middle-aged guy be doing? Are you bringing your daughter? I hope.
My daughter, she buys her own tickets. So.
Right. It would just seem so. And I heard her driver's license song, and the first thing, because I'm the plagiarism police, first thing I did was it said it's completely ripped off from "I Love You" by Billie Eilish. It's the same descending melody, and I was like, did she get mad at her? Did she sue her like people used to do back in the day? Yeah. You stole my song. No, I guess not. You know, she's got 2 Oscars, so does she care? I think she's the real deal. I would definitely see Billie Eilish. I would see that because I think she's an actual great talent.
All right. Next time she comes to New York, it's a date. You and I.
Have you seen them? Have you seen her?
I haven't seen Billie Eilish. No.
I'd love to see her. I mean, and now they're getting so big. I remember, was it last year? I think it was last year. I'm walking past Madison Square Garden, and I wasn't paying attention. And who's the guy from Harry Styles? 15 sold out shows at Madison Square Garden.
Incredible. Yeah.
I mean, really? I mean, I know people know his music and he's very popular, but like, I wonder like why Robbie Williams wasn't famous in America when he's a way better artist than that guy. I mean,
was at one of those 15 shows. Harry Styles is great live. Yeah.
Was he great live?
He's very good. Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I liked Sign of the Times. And I liked the lemonade,
like the more organic songs that he
watermelon, whatever the
sugar.
Yeah, it's catchy. I get it, but I just don't see what. Like these guys are all selling their catalogs. I'm wondering how timeless are these? There's going to be a lot of bad deals because everybody's clamoring for them now.
Yeah, and that's my question too. Is you think 300 is a fair deal for Kiss? I mean, their catalog is absolutely paper thin. It's maybe 2 songs, maybe 3. Whereas
what do you mean? But what do you mean by chart standards or
by chart popularity, recognizability? I mean, it's really Rock and Roll All Night. It's I Was Made for Loving You. If
Beth,
most maybe people know Beth, but
Detroit Rock City.
I don't think most mainstream people know Detroit Rock City. They don't know any. They don't know Shout It Out Loud. They don't know any of the stuff, the Black Diamond, the stuff that we know.
They don't know Love Her All I Can and Coming Home. They don't know Love Her All I Can.
They don't know Love Gun. They don't know any of this shit.
They know Love Gun. Come on, they all know that.
Don't think they do.
But you know, in Europe, they know Crazy Nights. That was a huge
UK. They know Crazy Nights. Yeah.
Yeah. And that other terrible song where
in Australia,
Tito was a lover on the darker side of town. What was that terrible song? If looks could kill. What was the name of that song? So bad.
You're thinking of something off Hot in the Shade, which is 1989.
Better hide your heart, better hold on tight. It just sounds like it came straight out of the
That's Holly Knight.
Desmond. Oh, it's Holly Knight. Desmond Child, Holly Knight.
Yeah,
Because it
exactly.
sounds just like all the da 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 da.
Like a
They
nursery
always
rhyme. If you play any of these catchy hits at like 72 or whatever that speed is, they all sound like nursery
Alvin
rhymes,
and the
which
Chipmunks.
exactly.
I
No, but
just
so
wonder. I mean, I think Kiss has got a flimsy catalog too. We know it because this was the zeitgeist of our era and blah 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 blah. But because of the imagery, the comic book aspects of them, and the iconic images and all that stuff, I think as a package it works kind of like a comic book. So it's kind of like selling like a rock and roll Marvel. So you think that's an extremely high number for them, but you
well,
don't think
I just
Katy
think
Perry's is high?
I just think it's risky because a lot of Kiss's value is based around the live entertainment experience. And if
Mhm.
they're not performing live, that's what generates the ticket sales and that's what generates the merchandise revenue.
Mm.
So
But
that
you don't
so
think
that
the Avatar business will do it, or as they've threatened before, replacements for Gene and Paul as well?
Kiss has tried doing like Vegas residencies. It doesn't work because they're not as popular a mainstream band as an Aerosmith doing a residency, or Def Leppard, or even Brian Adams or Billy Idol at a limited scale. They could
Scorpions,
Scorpions that can do it because, but I
they're
don't think
doing it right now.
Kiss is known as like you should go see them once because
It's
they're
a
incredible
circus.
live, and then most of the 80% of the casuals who are there never go and see them again. So it's hard to get repeat business.
Yeah, I mean, Kiss has always been the circus comes to town for rock and roll, pretty much.
Right. And then there's
But
the
I mean,
hardcore of fans that and some of the hardcore like you don't even go to the shows
I
over the
don't know.
past 20 years. So,
Nope. Last time I saw them was I didn't even see them on Psycho Circus, which is,
oh
by the
no.
way, guys, that's the follow-up to their big reunion tour, which was when they got back together with the original four members. It was a worldwide sold out show. And it's funny because shows at that point even hadn't gotten to the ridiculous amounts of money that they cost nowadays.
I th-
Another reason why I don't go to shows is because I'm completely against StubHub and any of these secondary market resellers. I think it should be illegal. If you can't sell tickets outside the venue, I think it's gross that if U2 came to town and Bono says, or Eddie Vedder, or one of these, one of the more honest folks, even though Bono makes a lot of money from capitalist ventures, etc. That's his prerogative. But Eddie Vedder, when they promise and they go to war with something like Ticketmaster and even to some extent Metallica, they put $34 tickets out on sale because they really want their hardcore fans to come see them. And that ticket is immediately bought up by a bot. It's immediately put on StubHub as a resale ticket, and it's $1,000. I just don't think that. I think that needs to be regulated hard.
Which is why Taylor Swift led the charge to dramatically increase prices and pocket more of that money for themselves. Yeah. They knew that there was a delta between the sale price and the market price. They said, "Listen, why are we letting the secondary market basically eat up all the profit? We're just going to put in dynamic pricing, and we'll just charge people through the nose at the outset, $1,000 a ticket, then $800 a ticket, then $700 until we bleed the audience dry. But that way, we know that the StubHubs of the world aren't cashing in, or
who loses
flippers.
In the end? The consumer still loses.
Well,
so when she said that, I thought she was acting like she was being noble, and I'm like, no, you're not punishing those guys. You're killing and they paid. They all paid for that.
So she's laughing all the way to the bank because no one's putting a gun to your head forcing you to buy concert tickets.
No, they're not. But it's it's a shame for every little girl that grew up like Dolly Parton or Celine Dion with no shoes, that really wants to see their idol, but there's no way because they don't have a rich uncle or a rich sugar daddy. Or I have a friend that basically she took out a loan and said it was for something else so she could get her kids tickets to see Taylor Swift.
And by the way, that year that Kiss reunited, they had the highest grossing tour of the year. They grossed $46 million in 1996. Now a top grossing tour is easily $250 million in a year.
Easy. Yeah.
Easy.
Like, for example, just to show people how, Taylor Swift is so far ahead of anybody in terms of, like, the biggest tour in the world for years and years and years was the U2 360 tour, and it grossed a little over $1 billion. Then it was immediately followed up a couple of years later by Ed Sheeran, who has no overhead, by the way. He goes out there with a couple of stomp boxes and a guitar. He's got no band at
Well,
all.
he has a setup. He has a big stage with a big production. But
No. I know, but that's it. He's not
that's
paying.
it. Yeah, and he grossed $1 billion as well. The highest grossing tour, the
highest
Divide
grossing tour.
Yeah.
Well, then was eclipsed by Taylor Swift, and the numbers are unbelievably higher than Ed Sheeran's because she charged so much money for her tour. And everybody's like, oh, she's so great, she gave everybody 50 grand and blah blah blah. Well, she made $1 billion. That's not a lot of money. That's like handing somebody a $5 bill on the street for a cup of coffee when you're that rich. She should be giving away that kind of money because she should feel a little bit guilty because she chose that option as opposed to artists putting their foot down and saying this whole. And I think Ticketmaster owns StubHub now, right?
That's true. Yeah. And
that's crazy.
Yeah, she's someone who's young. She's in her early 30s and said, listen, I'm not going to let whoever the guy was that owned her catalog make a fortune,
cool. Yeah.
make a fortune for the next 50 years off of my work. I'm like Scooter Braun.
Scooter Braun, yeah.
Scooter Braun, who's he's been pretty much characterized as a weasel by Taylor Swift. So and I don't know all the stuff about mechanical rights and publishing rights and all that stuff, but basically, if you re-record the album, you can put it out yourself under your own publishing, and then you control the licensing and you control the whatever the rights are to it when it gets played or whatever. So she basically re-recorded all her albums and cut out Scooter Braun and that company from benefiting from all of her previous albums.
Basically, it had nothing to do with her publishing. It had everything to do with her mechanical rights because publishing is a pie. Just take a pie wheel and split it in half. 50% goes to the writer and 50% goes to the publisher. If you self-publish, you get it all. But it's considered 200%. So if I wrote everything, I would get 200% as opposed to my BMI statements. Mechanical rights for recorded works are your label owns the performance that you gave on that particular record, and you never own it. Very rarely do artists ever own that. You might buy your catalog back, et cetera, et cetera. Right. Like a lot of artists have done. Def Leppard did that. Metallica did that. Kiss did that at some point. Everybody's done it. That was what the contention was. So she re-recorded all her records, and I listened to a couple of them. I was astonished by the quality of how she was able to redo that.
Yeah, basically, she had the producers. She hired the producers and said, "Listen, just recreate everything, and I'll come in and sing it over it again."
I mean, it couldn't have been that simple when you think about it, because as I'm not a fan of Taylor Swift's, but I have investigated her phenomenon because, it's interesting to me because I do like a lot of country music, and she started out kind of as a country artist. Her first record is actually very, very good. She's not the greatest singer in the whole wide world, but obviously we know that doesn't matter anymore. But she's
songs in the writing are really, really good.
Yeah,
the songs writing and the storytelling. Yeah,
one of the best drum sounds I ever heard on a record, because that kind of shit's important to me. And then I listened to the remade one. I was like, holy shit, they captured it in some way. She was able to nail it. She sings a little bit better, and I don't think it's a matter of Melodyne and autotune and all these tools that we have in the world to fix stuff, because I've worked with them. I know what they do and I know what they're capable of. Just sounds to me like she's a better singer now, as she should be with the experience that she's had since she's a young girl. So yeah, that Scooter Braun guy, listen, this is a classic example. It's nothing that Ahmet Ertegun and Berry Gordy and all these other guys that were Mitch Miller, all these guys from way back in the 50s and 60s were doing to all their artists. The Motown artists all got screwed out of everything. Everybody got screwed. Nobody made any money. They had to sue everybody. Diana Ross had a child with Berry Gordy, and he didn't acknowledge it. It was just so bad. You think it's bad now. It was even worse then because there was no way to discover. Now you can't fart without people knowing that you've got a piece of somebody's pie, or everything's so easily discoverable. So yeah, on that regard with Taylor Swift, I'm on board. I think she did a great thing because fuck him, he's a dick. Prince tried to do that with Warner Brothers with the slave thing on his face.
Yeah, I remember that. That's famous.
And then George Michael famously tried to get out of his deal and failed in the High Court in London because they didn't agree. The courts didn't agree. They said you should have promoted your record, and in a very small way. And I'm a very big George Michael fan who didn't use autotune nor need it. he said, I'm not going to promote my records. I mean, he said that in the press, and that's what killed him in the end. He says, I'm not going to be in the videos. I'm not going to do, and it was the best record he ever made. It's something called Listen Without Prejudice. It's a masterpiece. Freedom 90, amazing songs on that record. Mother's Pride, incredible shit. And he didn't promote it. And then he got mad that the record didn't sell very well. And now I think that was just a giant misstep in his estimation. However, the Prince thing, I totally got. He was tired of being exploited. He's produced his own records from the get-go, writes his own stuff, plays most of the stuff, and he didn't own anything. Still rich, but not rich like people can be rich now.
Yeah. So when Michael Jackson died, he was completely broke. He owed $200 or $300 million in debt. Now, of course, the estate is overflowing with money. They gross hundreds of millions a year. And the estate, yeah, and same with Elvis as well. Elvis earns far more now than he did his entire career combined in 1 year. So that's just the state of inflation and merchandising and all of that stuff.
It's incredible that, I'm sure the Sinatra estate is probably in the same kind of shape. Now, under the stewardship of Priscilla Presley, who kind of swooped into the Graceland, and, of course, everything went to his daughter, Lisa Marie, who's now deceased, and she's got grandchildren. She Lisa Marie was a grandmother. So their estate is worth, like what you just said, it's worth so much more than when he was alive. People they made money, but it wasn't the kind of crazy money that they make now. No one was making hundreds of millions of anything. This is a number that it's like, if you show a cell phone to a pilgrim, they wouldn't believe it. If you showed Frank Sinatra a contract for $100 million, he would think that, he'd call Sammy Kahn and have you taken out because he'd think you're full of shit.
I suppose it's not just immune or isolated to the music world. I think in the sports world, the same thing has been happening over the last few decades.
Sure.
Terry Bradshaw never made $100 million a year, but you never heard about those crazy kind of things. Nowadays,
Joe DiMaggio did coffee commercials for Mr. Coffee.
That's right, but he barely made it. That's right, to make money, right?
To make money, he had no money. He was broke.
And every week you hear about, so and so has been signed to this team for $450 million over 10 years or whatever. Like, what does he do? Hit a ball, or what is he runs? So,
and it's another reason why a family of four can't afford to go to a baseball game anymore.
By the way, upvote the live stream, hit the like button, and super chat your questions for Dirk and myself. If you think you can stump me on any kind of Kiss question, or Dirk on any kind of Kiss question, super chat and we will surprise you.
You're aggressive. I like it. We should.
I dare you. As a matter of fact, I dare you to super chat and ask any tough Kiss question. Now they're going to Google like some obscure Kiss fact.
Yeah, well, we probably know what that is anyway. Though.
Yeah, we probably know anyway.
Let's see. Anybody say? Oh, upvote Tim Ride. Upvote for OC and Dirk. Let's give you the mini super chat. Thank you, Timmy. And who else do we have in here? Nathaniel.
Tim and I are headed to Geneva on Wednesday to cover Watches and Wonders. We're going to do 4 completely wall-to-wall days of live coverage from the show floor.
Amazing.
At all of the watch events, covering Rolex, Patek Philippe, all of the big brands. 10-hour live stream starting at 5 a.m. Eastern every single day, starting next Wednesday. Or Thursday, whatever day it is.
That's exciting. So let's get this out of the way. Nathaniel Hannon, $5. OC amazes me by mentioning Elvis in a Kiss conversation. It's not just a Kiss conversation. It's just Kiss leaning. Because Sheen's going to make fun of me because he goes, you talk about Cats and Barbara and Kiss. And I'm like, I don't.
Not really.
Not really.
But there are artists who sold their catalogs and you think, okay, that kind of dollar figure makes sense. Like Bruce Springsteen or...
That I get. 500 million.
But then
that's the highest, right?
That's right. But then you hear like Neil Young sold for 300 million. Wait a minute. How many hits does Neil Young have?
The guy got more than you think.
Well, how often do you hear a Neil Young song in a commercial? I mean, it's like, are they really getting? Are you buying Neil Young merchandise? Are you going to live performance? I mean, I don't get it. Have sales really increased dramatically by owning that catalog?
Well, like Queen didn't sell their catalog, right? And I was on. There was a cleaner, some kind of oven cleaner. And it was like, "Ooh, you're making me live." I mean, those guys are like, fuck this. We're going to just license the shit ourselves and make all the money. Those guys, first of all, most of them have PhDs. Brian May's a PhD in astronomy and mathematics, and John Deacon had a PhD in electronics. Roger Taylor was a dentist. I mean, and Freddie had a degree in design. These were super educated rockers, something that you don't see all that much. And Queen always knew how to make money. They were tax exiles before anybody were tax exiles. Very smart. They had a guy named Jim Beach managing them, who I once had the pleasure of sitting down and talking to and picking his brain about stuff. And he said, the business of Queen is simply about money. He goes, the boys are very artistic, but I figure out the way to maximize their financial potential. I was like, fuck.
Yeah. I know you want to get through all the super chats, but I have a question for you after you zoom through all the super chats.
Rufus 199. What do you think of U2's Vegas residency? I think they should have waited till Larry was available. What do you think?
I think it's fucking terrible. I think people who've gone there, they say, "Oh, it's amazing." Yeah, the visuals are all generic. There's nothing special. There's nothing that was done just for U2.
Did you go?
No, I've been to the Sphere though. I was there in October. I just did a tour of the facility to see what it's like, and it's not. I mean, it's a small stage. I like big production. I like lights. I like.
Me too.
I like effects. I like stuff.
You like ramps, bombs, flash pots, exactly things that move.
They're on a small stage, and they're showing the same fucking imagery of a fucking desert on a big screen that you get every night. It's canned footage, and you shouldn't be paying that kind of money to see U2 in that awful environment.
A friend of mine, JS, who was on the show in the very beginning when I started doing Dirk Weekdays, he played drums with me, and he's a childhood friend. He is a curmudgeon, and he hates everything, and he went to see it, and he goes, Dirk, I'm so sorry, I loved it. So I don't know. I didn't see it. So I saw them
in Madison Square Garden, where they had that giant contraption that looked like it took days to build through the entire center of the arena.
Yeah.
And they walked through the middle of it. It was like one of those things like Roger Waters type production.
Yeah.
Absolutely massive.
Yeah.
When your hard-earned bucks go to see a show, I want to see where the money went. I don't want to see a fucking screen with canned images of a fucking flag.
I'm not a big fan of that either. And my favorite U2 tour was Pop Mart at Giant Stadium.
Oh, massive.
It was with big giant arch, and it was just
the
ramps and bombs and things that moved. They came out like they were in a boxing ring. It was amazing.
And then they had the claw, which was actually so elaborate that they had multiple
two of them or three of them.
And they lost so much money that they had to do at least 150 shows or whatever the number was just to finally break even on the tour.
How you know who the sponsor was of that tour? It's funny.
I don't remember.
BlackBerry.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
How crazy
before Apple. Before Apple.
Rufus, you get it. It was actually after Apple. It was after the whole.
Oh, was it really?
Uno, dos, tres, catorce. I don't think I gave you the responsibility to make sure that the super chats get the due they deserve. Hey, Clam, ring that bell. Ring that bell. I know what that's from.
Anita, whatever her name. What's her name? Anita, whatever.
Ring. Oh, Anita Ward. Anita Ward. Ring that Ward. Bell. No, I thought he was going after the Wizard of Oz. Where he goes, who rang that bell? Thank you so much for the super chats. Go ahead, hit me. What do you got? You said you have a question for Dirk.
So yeah. You were talking earlier about how Beyonce and like all of these pop acts these days, they have these teams of producers and writers and come in and they basically some of these people don't even write their own lyrics. So like they just come in, they do a couple of takes and boom, the song's done. Mm-hmm. I was surprised to see that starting to appear now in the rock world. And one of the instances of it was Andrew Watt, who's the famous the guy who wrote the latest album for Ozzy Osbourne. Basically just like wrote the whole album, got all the musicians in, played all the stuff himself, and then called Ozzy, said, okay, we're ready for you to come in now. And then Ozzy comes in, reads some lyrics on a sheet. He does a few takes and it's like, okay, your album's done. And the reason why I bring it up is because
was he the producer on that?
Yeah, the reason why I bring it up is because it's kind of in the mind of Kiss fans now because there's a new Ace Frehley album called 10,000 Volts, and it was done exactly the same way. There's this producer, Steve Brown.
I know Steve.
So he was in
Trickster.
From Trickster. He was a producer. He said, listen, Ace, you want to do a new record? Not a problem. Just let me hand over the ability to me, and I'll take care of it for you. He wrote everything. Yeah. He even played the guitar on the album and even played lead on a lot of the songs. And then Ace comes in last minute and says, okay. And he sings with his, Bronx accent.
Yeah, I just came in playing cards.
I just came and played down. Yeah. And I'm done.
I hope it's an ERA.
Is the record done? and then they put an album out with absolutely zero creative input whatsoever. I'm just thinking like, it's a shame.
She hit me like 10,000 volts. Ugh. I mean, the sadness I feel for Ace Frehley is, and I totally agree with Gene and Paul. If they were in my band, I would have fired them also. As great as they were in the beginning, they were a shambles at the end and horrific. And then when they got back together again, drugs and alcohol appeared after months and months of trainers and relearning the solos and all these things that these guys had to do to get these two dum-dums in shape. And then they blew it again. So I have no respect at all for Ace Frehley or Peter Criss at this point. More for Peter than Ace.
What about Ozzy?
Well, Ozzy's never written a thing in his life. You know that.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
Bob Daisley wrote everything. He's never
too.
Never wrote. And in Black Sabbath, Geezer Butler was the lyric writer. He never wrote anything. Ozzy's just the guy that he's the lucky. And don't get me wrong, I love Ozzy. How could you not?
I know. I mean,
however,
what a catalog.
His wife is just maybe Satan incarnate. She is
a brilliant business person. Yeah,
she's a business because her father was a gangster. Read her book. She's a gangster. She's a real life gangster. The things that she's pulled on so many artists, so many band members, so many things. What she did to Jakey Lee when he came in wrote all of Bark at the Moon. She wouldn't give him any of the credit. It says all songs by Ozzy Osbourne. The guy's never written anything in his life. He couldn't play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star on a piano.
So in a sense, like he was susceptible to the kind of methodology where someone would come and say, "Hey, listen, I'll just produce the whole thing for you," and you just walk.
It's Johnny Bravo. He wears the suit. You get the reference. Do you get the reference of the thumbnail, by the way?
The thumbnail, the thumbnail, I didn't look at it closely. I don't know if it was King Diamond. Is it King Diamond?
No.
No?
It's really good. And it's funny because I was talking to Paul about this because it was his idea. He goes, "What's this?" Blah, blah, blah. And I went, "Oh my God, blah, blah, blah." Because I didn't want to put a Kiss thing on there because I was like, you can't do anything with those guys coming after you. I mean, anything.
Yeah.
It is Sonny Bono as Deacon Dark from The Love Boat.
Gotcha.
Where he was playing a Kiss-like character on The Love Boat. He goes, "What's the name?" Didn't Sonny Bono went Deacon Dark from Love Boat. That's how insane my Kiss knowledge is.
Yeah, my favorite one is the one from Chips. The one time where they had the guy dressed up as the red version of Gene or whatever.
So bad,
but so good.
Then on Buck Rogers, they had a band called Andromeda, and they were the biggest band in the galaxy. Oh man, so bad. And this is what I always explain to people like Oisin, because listen, he's 8 years younger than me and his brother's 10 years younger than me. It's like, listen, you guys, the zeitgeist when you were coming up, because they have very, very eclectic taste. They're very varied folks, as am I. However, the one thing that I couldn't escape was Kiss when I was a kid. For them, it would have been somebody else, and on the other side of the pond, it would have been, I don't know. I'm not going to name a band, but it would have been like, I don't get Oasis and I don't get any of those bands. No, just zero.
They love Coldplay or Muse or whatever. They fall into this thing and they become your favorite band, and that's it. With me, it's Kiss, and that's how it is.
Right. And who are your other favorite bands growing up?
Ozzy, Metallica, Mötley Crüe, everything from the 80s.
You liked Mötley Crüe?
Oh yeah, from Dokken to Rat to
I didn't like
everything in that era. Yeah. And of course stuff from the 70s too, because when I was growing up in the 80s.
What about the good metal though, like Queensryche and Iron Maiden?
Of course, I saw Queensryche open up for Kiss in 1984.
Too.
Iron Maiden
at Nassau Coliseum or in Jersey.
No, I was in LA at the time. LA.
I went to see that show with a guy named Greg D'Angelo, who eventually became the drummer in White Lion. We were both in Anthrax at one time, so that's how I knew him. And the Metallica thing, like I saw those guys rehearse in Jamaica, Queens in the early 80s when they were eating out of pork and beans cans. And I remember thinking, I was like, yeesh, what is that? Nobody had ever heard anything like that before. They invented it. And I remember Scott Rosenfeld, now Scott Ian, he was like, "That's what we got to do. We got to sound like that shit. Holy fuck, what is that? It's a whole kind of brand new metal." And I was like, "See ya." I can't do that.
When I was in the 80s growing up in high school, what was classic rock at that time was stuff that was only like 6 or 7 years old, believe it or not. Like now classic rock is stuff from the 70s and 80s, which is 30, 40 years ago. When I was in the 80s, it was stuff that was only like max 10 years ago. So stuff from Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, Eagles, all Fleetwood Mac, all of that stuff was considered classic rock in the mid 80s. But
Mhm.
of course, I loved all of that stuff. And you would play that, you'd hear that on the radio mixed in with the modern 80s stuff all the
Yeah.
time.
I mean, when I was growing up, I don't know. I'm 58. How old are you?
I'm 53.
53. Okay, so I got a couple of years on you. For when I was growing up, the music that was considered classic rock was Pink Floyd, Beatles, Boston, the Rolling Stones, uh, Bad Company, Led Zeppelin. That was classic rock because we had a station on Long Island that was classic rock called WBAB. And I live in Queens, so we used to get that. And I think 102.3 WNEW was also classic rock. And then, like, I guess I stopped listening to the radio in the 80s. I just don't even know what they played. I don't
That's
even
what,
know.
when you stop listening to the radio, like when I stopped listening in the 2000s or whatever, you become out of touch with current stuff. It just happens. And nowadays with
Sticks.
streaming, like you're being spoon fed stuff that you're probably going to like, and you don't examine and find new artists. You, especially at our age, we just kind of look back on the stuff that we liked back then and follow that.
I would love to love new stuff. I just, and every once in a
If it was
while I
good,
do.
like that rap stuff, I don't understand it. They're just talking.
Well, I mean, I growing up in Jamaica, Queens, I was kind of around during the genesis of that music. And I had a place that I was very close to, and it was on Hillside Avenue. It was Jerk Chicken Stand, where we used to see the guys in Run DMC and LL Cool J, and they'd be on the street with their boom boxes doing their thing. And I remember thinking it was very interesting rhythmically. Maybe I didn't relate to it as, a young kid who was going to eventually wind up, playing rock and roll music. But I remember thinking it was cool. And I like a lot of early rap. I do. I think a lot of it is. I love Paul's Boutique by the Beastie Boys. I think that's a fucking masterpiece. And I don't think people even know that record exists because it wasn't a big hit. But
Right.
then, rap, I think, to be gross, for lack of a better term, I think rap shot its load a long time ago and has been completely bereft of originality and anything interesting, because it's no longer, it used to be about a cry from the streets, from people who were disenfranchised, and it was a affirmation. And now it's just about like, yo, she got Gucci and Louis Vuitton, and she got her penthouse apartment, and all them motherfuckers be playing with their Glock. It's just become so boring. And I was reading an article the other day, and they were talking about reverb being a big part of like 70s records, of the gated kick, the gated drum, like, in the air tonight.
Right.
And it was a producer talking about how that was the zeitgeist for production back then. And he said, and I hope to God that auto-tune is that of this era, and that eventually we'll go, oh my God, that's so noughties, or that's so 2000s, or whatever. But it doesn't seem, because now it's not about, do you believe in love? It's not that anymore. That's still in records. But now we're using the sneaky Melodyne, which is, do you know about Melodyne? You know what that is, right? It's a program that's seamless, where most people can't tell that the vocals have been tuned, because it doesn't have any kind of after effect. It doesn't have any kind of,
robotic after effect. Yeah.
It doesn't have that. It's basically just fixing the way the note fits into the track. You can change the breath. You can change it so seamlessly. People can hear it. I can hear it. I can tell when a vocal's been manipulated. But Adele records are auto-tuned. Name every great singer out there. The only one I know of right now that says fuck you auto-tune is Pink. She refuses to allow anybody to touch it, which is really cool. Makes her very cool to me. I think she's a rock chick, and I like her. But like Billie Eilish, there's no way that she sounds so good live. There's no way there's auto-tune on her shit. And her brother's a total computer nerd. But man, when you see her hitting that shit live, it is perfect. And you can tune vocals live, but not that effectively.
Right.
Because there is a very big danger, because you actually set it. So when it goes through the software, you have the song key, the scale set. And if somebody goes just a little bit outside of that, it'll pop it into another key, and it'll totally, and people have been busted doing that, which is kind of fun. Like somebody just recently had that on one of their shows. I forget what it was, but it was really good. I think it was on Wings of Pegasus. He throws Tom Jones in there, and he throws, all these amazing singers, Shirley Bassey, Judy Garland. He was like, what the fuck? Like, why can't people sing in tune anymore when they always used to be able to do that? You know,
did one. Karen Carpenter, I think.
Karen Carpenter was just, I mean, she did a duet with Ella Fitzgerald, and I'll tell you something. Have you ever heard that?
I don't recall it, but I will look it up.
It's almost like, it's sacrilegious to say, but when Ella starts singing, she kind of ruins the song.
Wow.
Because she's so not in the pocket. Karen was so unbelievably flawlessly pitch-wise and so creamy and thick and such an perfectly executed vocal. And I think Billie Eilish is one of those people. I am always amazed, and I don't own her records, but when I hear them, I love that "What Were We Made For" song from the Barbie thing, which movie I would never go see, not even if it was free on TV. It's just, that doesn't appeal to me, those kind of stupid movies. And like, everybody was pissed off that didn't win Best Picture. Like, that's like, to me, that's like Leif Garrett bitching about, you know, or name any of these. The
their movie of the week didn't win the Emmy. You know,
why didn't Kiss Meet the Phantom of the Park win an Emmy?
Yeah, I know, it's brilliant.
We've got to get out of here.
we have to do a private screening of that one day for just
how many. I know
members.
The whole dialogue of that movie, by the way. You're looking for someone, but it's not Kiss.
Yeah, you have a Paul
Stanley
impression.
Yeah, I've been doing Paul Stanley my whole life. Me and my friend Eugene and Paul, and we used to just record that shit for fun.
It's funny. You should go on Cameo and just do voice messages. Like, I'll do your voice recording for your phone.
I should do that. Cameo makes me very sad.
You've reached Gene Simmons.
Right. Hey, this is Gene Simmons from Kiss. Happy birthday. Happy birthday, Shlomo, and welcome. It's just fucking...
And don't forget to go to kissonline.com.
Kissonline.com. And don't forget, it's his bar mitzvah this week as well. So mazel tov, Shlomo.
You've seen the roast of Gene Simmons with Craig Gass, who does that bit at the end. Oh, it's so funny.
Oh yeah, it's genius shit. It's genius shit. I love those roasts. I was actually watching the Dean Martin roast last week. We were doing a marathon, and man, you wouldn't believe how much more raunchy it was back then. But there's a disclaimer, and it says portions of this program were recorded before a time. Before a time. It says some people may feel triggered.
It's funny.
People may feel triggered. Triggered about what?
It's a disclaimer, but it's more of an insult. It's like
it was like Angie Dickinson. She's such a hooer. It's all these old time. It's Foster Brooks, and he's drunk, and Milton Berle, and now we've all become so desensitized. It's just so sensitive to everything that we can't take a joke anymore. Comedians are not allowed to do their jobs because you might get triggered. Oh my god! I mean, what triggers you, OC?
I don't know. I mean, not much. I've been on YouTube for over 2 years. You have to have a super thick skin to deal with the kind of crazy. Like, oh my god, that stuff that gets thrown at you. You learn not to read the chat. You learn not to watch the hate streams, and because they really, because of it was exacerbated by COVID. More and more people kind of working at home, being at home, and getting their entertainment not from outside sources but from their computer. Mm. They gravitate to becoming these anonymous keyboard warriors, and they get a perverse enjoyment from trying to trigger people. So the second that they know that you respond or that it bothers you, then they do it more. So the most important thing is, like, if someone says, "Oh, there's OC, the empty suit politician forehead," it's like it's to accept it and embrace, like, yeah, this forehead is fucking big. There's no doubt about it. Like, there's no arguing that, right? Am I going to argue that my forehead isn't big? I have
a kind of big forehead too. Somebody once said to me, it's like, I am in no danger whatsoever of ever losing my hair. But I've always had kind of a bigger forehead than, like, people from the Cro-Magnon era. I have very little Neanderthal in my DNA makeup. And even though I'm like a beast, and some guy goes to me, well, you growing your hair a little bit? This is before I cut my hair off. And I said, yeah, I might go on the road with my band. He goes, if guys have receding hairlines, I was like, fuck you. I don't have a receding hairline.
You're triggered.
I was triggered. I was like, and it's funny because I couldn't care less. I think bald men are very attractive. I think it's a masculine
But I'm
look.
not bald. God damn it. I'm
Yeah,
not bald.
yeah, I'm not bald. He sounded
I'm
just like
bald.
Jerry
Fuck you.
Seinfeld. Where did you put the toothbrush?
My
Mulva.
wife was watching all of these Larry David show. What's it called? Curb Your
Curb Your
Enthusiasm.
Enthusiasm.
Oh my god, it's just every fucking scene is just fucking spot on funny.
Oh yeah,
You know,
except this season is not very funny.
I've been watching this season.
I just started it because I changed around my cable configuration and I didn't have HBO for the first time in my adult life. So I got it back and I was like, oh great, Curb Your Enthusiasm. And it just feels really tired. Which of course he's got 15 seasons. How, your favorite Kiss record is not Asylum.
No.
So what is your favorite Kiss record, by the way?
That's a great question. Kiss 1974 is the most iconic to me. It has
got all their best songs on it.
All the best songs on it. And then
I mean, they're all classics.
All classics.
Strutter,
someone asked in the chat, what's the Kiss song that got you into Kiss? And for me, that was Shout It Out Loud, and the album was Alive 2. Alive 2 was the album that I went over to my friend Tuck Bolton's house, and he had Alive 2 and played it for the first time. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And what is this, huge gatefold cover? So it was Alive 2.
My first album was the Originals.
That's the compilation of the first three albums.
First three albums, and my sister gave it to me. I was into the Partridge Family, and then I was into Elton John. I had Elton John's Greatest Hits, and she got me Kiss the Originals because she really liked it. And so my first impression of them was the first album, and songs like All the Way and Strange Ways, Coming Home, Old Mainline. These are all songs that I absolutely loved.
That nobody watching the show has ever
know
heard
about.
Of.
No. And so that was for me. And the first Kiss record that I ever bought myself was Vince Fine Arts, was Rock and Roll Over. That's the first Kiss album I bought with my own money. And I don't remember how I got it, but for that, we're going to give you a gong. A mistake gong that makes you feel better. So that's the first one you bought with your own money was what? Was
the first one I bought with my own money? I can't even remember. I just don't remember. But I think the first actual thing that I bought, first Kiss related thing I bought with my own money was the New York Groove single.
Oh wow.
Snowblind on the B-side.
12-inch?
No, the 7-inch.
I have the 12-inch somewhere.
Wow.
I have like a ridiculous Kiss vinyl collection. But then again, I have a lot. I mean, I stopped buying vinyl a long time ago, but I've got crazy shit. Like I've got that Mötley Crüe album on Leather Records, which I've never liked Mötley Crüe. I've never liked any of that kind of music. I never liked Poison. I didn't like any of the Hairspray bands ever.
Like in 8th grade, like for Christmas, there was one year where everybody got Metal Health, Pyromania, and
I like Pyromania,
and what the Mötley Crüe one, Shout at the Devil. Like you literally got
and that's by far the worst album that they. No, the worst one's Theater of Pain.
Oh,
I'll never forget. My band was recording our first demo. And we had just gotten together and we were at some studio called White Cloud on Long Island. And my friend Jimmy, who's a lead guitar player, was on the show last week. He worked for Import Disc. He worked for a company that I think it was called Important. And they became a big distributor for rock records. And he came and he showed us he had a cutout of the Mötley Crüe record, and they just looked like girls, like strippers. They went from the leather and Too Young to Fall in Love and Shout at the Devil and kind of rock and cool, black and silver, to like wearing scarves and pink and all this stuff. And they were just like, have you ever heard of Tiger Tails?
It was no, I never heard of Tiger. Is that a fashion place in like Brooklyn or whatever? Or?
No, Tiger Tails was a British version of Poison. And if you think Poison was bad, this was 10 times bad, 10 times worse. There was so much this proliferation. All of a sudden, it's funny how when rock got a little glammy, because it did that in the 70s with Bowie and T-Rex and all this cool shit. And Lou Reed was even wearing makeup and girls' clothes. And then that kind of fizzled out. And then it came back, but it came back with like almost like guys with boo jobs. They had like pleated skirts on and knee-high stockings, high heel shoes, hair up to here. And then 5 years later, everybody was wearing jeans, flannel shirts, and Harley Davidson wallets because grunge just came. It was just rock fans are so fucking fickle.
Yeah.
And that's what's so sad to me. It's like, it's so rare that few bands can have like a legit fan base that sticks with them. And it doesn't happen in the US, but it does happen in Europe. Because we go play with bands in Europe and everybody knows it. They know the words to fucking my band songs, which is ludicrous. And then you go there and they're loyal. And we played with Queensryche last year. And it was people in wheelchairs, oxygen tanks, walkers. And we played some theater up in upstate in Peekskill. And or one of those towns. And this beautiful theater. And the place was full. Everybody sat down. Which I don't think I've ever played a show where people sat down. And then I realized there was oxygen tanks and there's no new rock fans because they all got into Timberlake. Then they all got into Britney Spears and they all got into all this stuff. And then now they're into hip hop and all this stuff. Rock is so fucking dead in America. They just don't care. And then you get legacy artists. And I talked about that with Jimmy the other night. So like, you go to see, Styx, Cheap Trick, and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, because that's who's playing at Jones Beach.
That's right.
You go to Magic Mountain, and it's Firehouse, Mötley Crüe, and the Smurfs. It's embarrassing.
That's a pretty good triple bill. I see that.
I mean, in a band like Cheap Trick, shouldn't be included in that sad
Stadium
plot.
No, they're playing the stadium tour with Cheap Trick's opening up for Def Leppard and Journey in the stadium tour this year. I mean, they're still.
Oh, is that what?
Yeah, there's a rotating opening acts. I think Heart does some of it, and Cheap Trick does.
Are they getting along, and Nancy again?
I don't know.
They weren't talking for a while.
I don't know if both of them are in or if it's just Anne.
You a Heart fan?
I do like Heart, and Heart was, a Ron Nevison produced success.
Well, later on.
Obviously, I knew them as classic rock. When I was growing up from Barracuda and all that stuff.
Yeah, I saw them on the second go round many, many, many times on the Ron Nevison era, the Bad Animals, Heart.
Yeah, and that was very, very popular.
But it was great though.
It was good stuff. I mean, I'm surprised you like it because it's more of the glam popish.
I have a very soft spot for Ann and Nancy Wilson. First of all, she's the greatest female rock singer that has ever lived. She's incredible. And Nancy's not too shabby herself. I mean, like Dog and Butterfly and old Little Queen and all those early records, they're more Led Zeppelin-esque rock. They were influenced heavily by Zeppelin and artists like that. And then, listen, they were down on their luck. They put out a record, I think Mike Olson produced it, or Kevin Olson, that had a big song on it called How Can I Refuse? And I thought it was a great record. It was called Passion Works, and they got dropped. So they got picked up by Capitol Records, and they said, okay, here's the deal. We'll give you a record deal. Ron Nevison's got to produce it, and we're going to hook you up with Holly Knight and, What About Love? I think that's Brian.
It's the team that made the Cher album really big. You'll love it.
That was Bon Jovi who did that. I love that Cher record, that 1986 record. I Found Someone. Michael Bolton wrote that, and everything else on the Sonny Bono wrote Bang Bang, but the whole rest of that record is like written by John and Richie, and it's great shit. Big time. What's his name? It was their guy, the Desmond Child. Yeah. This great Main Man. That's a great record, great sounding record. She's an underrated singer. She's great, and she's a rock and roll bitch, and she should have been in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame 30 years ago. Because she had a record. She worked with Phil Spector when she was 16 years old. So this is a woman that's been friends with Darlene Love and Tina Turner and all these artists. And, Phil Spector picked her out of obscurity because she was Sonny Bono's girlfriend. And she made all that stuff. She made a lot of great records in the 60s and 70s. Some of them rocked hard and some of them pop. Dark Lady, all that shit was amazing. And people were like, Cher, because she's become like what Freddie Mercury is. Like Freddie Mercury is now not what he was. That movie was hogwash. It was complete bullshit. Did you see that movie?
No.
The Bohemian Rhapsody movie? Gross.
Oh, no. Yeah. Of course they saw that one.
Yeah, $1.1 billion at the box office, and it was complete fiction.
I didn't see the Elton John one. Elton John one is on the plane, whatever, right? And I can't.
It was good. It was way better than Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh, yeah.
Bohemian Rhapsody was hogwash. The thing about I hit that. Sorry about that. I'll get to you, Bert. I promise.
Yeah.
The thing with the Bohemian Rhapsody was they just changed everything around to just make him the icon that he is right now, just to support
It
this
was
myth.
well, it's not meant to tell the true story. It's meant to be a fictionalized, dramatized
Yeah.
biography.
He didn't have AIDS when he did Live Aid. Well, he might
No,
have
yeah.
contracted HIV, but he didn't know about it.
People got all upset, like, "Oh my god, let's analyze the timeline, chronology, the chronology of what actually happened in real life." It's not about that. It's about it's an
They
entertainment
shouldn't
movie.
have done that though. They tried to
No,
make
yeah.
it out as like, I'm gonna garner all my strength, and I'm gonna be able to do this one amazing last show and give it my all to the world,
I
and
did
then
it,
I'm
and then he
gonna
dies.
die. He did 3 albums and 2 tours after that. I mean, it's such a load of shit. You know,
Yeah.
it's really crap.
I'm really worried about the Kiss biopic if that ever gets done because
Oh god.
they have a terrible track record of working with documentarians on stuff. Just they do the worst shit.
I mean, I kind of like what was it, History? I didn't hate that. I love all the
Yeah.
Daisy stuff. You know, their first appearance was on Queens Boulevard, and the Daisy in Amityville, and Popcorn, that was later called what was it called?
Coventry.
Coventry. Yeah, I've been in that club. It's gone now. The building's been demolished, but my
Wow.
friends used to play in that place.
Did you see The Dirt or Remember the Dirt?
Yeah,
The Mötley Crüe.
yeah, I saw it. The book was great. The movie was
Yeah,
retarded.
the movie was retarded, but that
Yeah,
that ushered in a whole bunch of new young fans apparently that
did it?
ushered Motley out of retirement. Remember this to cessation of
Signed in
touring, and
blood.
it's
Yeah,
like we'll never come back. And
yeah.
here they are. They're back.
It's until
It's
somebody
funny
offers
because
them a
they made
big
fun
check.
of they made fun of Kiss because hey, like we're not going to do 15 farewell tours like Kiss did, and then yeah.
What tour are they on since they got back? And poor Vince Neil, never a good singer. And he's just 800 pounds. And I mean, and for the love of Christ, you guys are so rich. There's no reason in the world to embarrass yourselves like this.
Get
And
a trainer, get a
to
nutritionist,
Ozempic, like Adele did.
do something. Yeah.
Get Ozempic, because now she's one of the most beautiful creatures on the planet. And that's all thanks to Ozempic or whatever she was
You
on.
talking about Adele or who?
Yeah, Adele. But like that will work. I mean, 'cause people forget how big she was. She was big, big,
She looks
big, big,
amazing.
big.
And I was watching Kelly
Kelly
Clarkson came on
Clarkson.
the TV. I'm like, who's this fucking skinny bitch? I
She's
mean, like
gorgeous.
she
She
doesn't
looks
look anything like
amazing.
Kelly Clarkson.
No, her
Yeah.
head is too big also,
It's
because
very
that's what
skinny.
happens when you get so skinny. Yeah, I just think that the Motley Crue thing, because I don't care for them, but two, I understand what their market share is, and I know that people do like them. And for him to go out there, and they got busted completely using the toaster on their tour. Nobody's playing now. They have John Five, who's a young, very experienced guy. I saw him play with Katie Lang 100 years ago. This guy can play anything. He's just cashing a check. Bands that go out there and do a show and it's all on tape is bullshit, and I think it should be not allowed. I think it's
Well,
fake.
unfortunately, I had to resort to consuming that content on the last Kiss tour, but it was what it was. I had to.
And most of it was on tape. It wasn't just Paul, because his voice is gone. Paul's voice has been gone for quite. He had surgery.
He did, but he did the most amazing job faking it of
He does a
anybody
good
that I've
job.
ever seen.
Oh, I've watched them all.
Almost nobody called him on it, and I bet if you polled 99% of the people, they would say no. Yeah, I swear to God, he's singing live.
Well,
There's no way.
The public don't know.
They don't have no idea.
Especially in a live show. But you watch it on YouTube and you could tell. Paul does a very, very decent job of doing it.
Very convincing.
We have a friend who worked on that tour, and he's got a 50-50. So he does sing some things.
The improv stuff where it was like, sing!
Yeah. Come on, people. Oh, yeah. I see. That's the Paul Stanley I miss, not the fucking stupid one. You know, I like that. How many people out there like to drink tequila? Yeah, I mean, it's just. I mean, listen, that good for them. I knew it was coming. I knew they were gonna cash their shit out because Gene loves money, and he's at an endgame. He's in his 70s. He's got kids. He's got a legacy. I think his daughter is pregnant, or she's having a baby, or he's about to be a grandfather. And why the fuck not? There's nothing else for them to do. What else could they do? What else?
Financially, I guess it must make financial sense from a tax perspective or whatever to cash out, get the big lump sum or whatever the financial terms are. And it must make it easier from an estate planning perspective to pass it along. Otherwise, more people wouldn't cash out. and they
Well,
let their
then what
or
happens?
maybe they don't trust their heirs and the management that companies to actually be proper stewards of their fortune going
Uh-huh.
forward. So they just figure like, I trust myself only. I sell out, I cash out, and I can distribute those funds and determine from an estate planning perspective how it gets distributed or whatever.
I just wanted to look real quick to see who the other list of people who sold their catalogs. So we know Katy Perry did, right?
She sold a
And
portion of hers for 225 million, I believe. Yeah.
right, I see that. To me, that I don't get. Dr. Dre sold his music catalog for $250 million. Now, what songs does he have that will be timeless and forevermore?
Well, I don't know. I mean, the California Love and some of the
Yeah.
Snoop Dogg stuff. I don't know. What I don't know
Okay.
what he owns.
ZZ Top, okay, they've got a lot of songs that are in commercials now. I
Sure.
get that. Oh, here's one I totally don't get. Let me pull this up so you can look at it. This is
You're gonna say
funny.
you're gonna say Shakira. I don't know.
I mean, she's got one stupid song. The Imagine Dragons sold their music for 100. Name one fucking Imagine Dragons song. This is so milk toast.
Bizarre.
It's so It's so in one ear and out the other. I know
I,
they have fans now, but they won't have fans in 5 years. No one's gonna care.
I think they have probably 5 hits that are suitable for commercials, and so if they license the fuck out of those 5 songs for the next 50 years, they'll probably make that 100 million back.
So, as a person who's written music for television and done a lot of voiceovers in my life, it's a lot cheaper to hire a guy like me who'll do something for you original that's right now and a 1/1000th of the price you're paying, 1/100,000th the price. So you have to think that these people are thinking, yeah, we need that Imagine Dragons tie-in. Like that has to be the reason why they're getting that money. They have to think that if we play, blah 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 by the Imagine Dragons, they're instantly
Right.
when they pick up that cold cream, they're going to know it's Imagine Dragons. But I don't think that people will, because who the fuck knows who they are? I don't know. Justin
Not even.
Bieber. Okay, he's got a bunch of songs. I can name none of them.
He's really good live too, by the way. Really good.
Is he live?
Well, I mean, a lot of it's taped, but it's a good performance and good production and everything, and a lot of great songs. And the crowd too. You go for the crowd response, and the crowd singing along. That's a lot of the energy of a live show.
That's only
And
good when you're the guy on the stage. That's only good when you're the guy on the stage. I want people to shut up when they're in a show. Unless I'm on the stage. Iggy Azalea. Okay. I don't know anything about this person, and why would anybody want to buy her catalog?
8-figure deal. I
That
doubt it.
sounds impossible.
That's maybe 10 million, that's about it. That's
The
8
worst
figures.
picture ever of poor Phil. Of course, I get that. They've got mega hits, and they're not buying The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. They're buying Abacab. they're not buying Selling England by the Pound. They're buying We Can't Dance, because they had so many. Genesis is a band that if Peter Gabriel never left that band, none of them would be as rich as they are today.
Is this Phil Collins catalog or the Genesis catalog though?
It's both. It was sold as a package, I believe. I believe it was a package. Now, Phil Collins has ridiculous amount of hit songs.
Gazillion, 20 number one hits.
20 number one hits, and they probably have half that. But if Peter Gabriel never left, they wouldn't have been forced to get him as their singer, and then he never would have solo career. But we sold his for $250. I mean, couldn't be more iconic. His stuff is all over the music map. It's all so different. He was a gender twisting, genre bending, everything from young Americans to Let's Dance. Super sellable. I get why.
Very sellable. I don't know if those songs were ever like hits, like chartable or whatever, but there's so many songs that are radio friendly and so instantly recognizable. They're kind of like AC/DC. AC/DC, there are 20 songs that no matter what that they could be played anywhere in the world and people instantly know whether it's Highway to Hell or You Shook Me All Night Long or Back in Black, or just from the first chord they're iconic and people they're just everywhere, those songs. And
I'm assuming because of your logo that you're a very big fan of AC/DC.
I'm a fan. That's my logo, and it's a good way of showing my appreciation for rock music. But yeah, David Bowie, the same. Whether it's fashion or all
Turn
of
to
the
the
other
left. I
I
mean,
picked that one because I knew you'd be able to sing it.
the I think all of his songs were big hits, though. I think all of Young Americans to Let's Dance to all that shit.
Were
I
they
think
really?
it was China Girl. I think they were top 10 singles. I
I'm
see
thinking of
that.
stuff like I'm thinking of stuff like Heroes, which is very,
In the
was that a big
70s.
hit? But it's
I
a
think it
huge.
was. It was all over the radio.
Okay.
I mean, I'd have to go do some research. David Guetta. Okay. I mean,
David Guetta
this
is
is
the
he's a DJ.
DJ
I
who has
am a
there's the collabs.
DJ. I am what I play. That's another Bowie song. Now, for a guy like that, what could he possibly sell since it's not his own music? It's just sampled stuff that he puts together and creates new works from. So he's a collage artist.
Well, he does. He pays people for the samples, and those people own a part of the songs. But he does write original like melodies and things.
He
I'm sure
does.
too. I would guess.
People do drugs and they go to see him spin records. Sting sold his entire songwriting catalog. Now, Sting's got a quadrillion hits and he wrote them all.
A gazillion,
Police
yeah.
and solo.
See, now you compare that to Kiss. It's like people know 20 Sting songs and 2 Kiss songs. So it's like they both got 300 million.
It is an
Really?
incredible amount of money.
No one's rushing to buy a giant sweatshirt with a picture of Sting on it. A picture of Sting's face on it. No one gives a fuck. No one's paying $20,000 for Sting basses.
I really want one of those PS10s. I've wanted one my whole life. I've
Which
collected
one?
guitars.
The mirrored one? Or
No, I would just take a straight up black one.
You could get a stage. Why don't you talk to the guy who runs his warehouse? He has tons of the stage played guitars.
That I don't care if Paul ever played them. I don't care if he ever touched it. I just like those. Those are called Ibanez Iceman, and I've always wanted one. And I do like his, but like if you have to go through the Paul Stanley channel, then there's that markup, which is
one day we'll do a show with Asheen, and what we'll do is, and you and I will be on the side of like, hey, Gene Simmons is a great bass player. And of course, Asheen would be like, that stuff is garbage.
Gene is a great bass player.
And then we'll walk through every fucking song and show him the most incredible fucking walking bass lines you ever heard from any rock band.
It's just not his shtick. It's just not. Listen. It's not in his purview in any way, shape, or form. And I get it. And he thinks it's laughable stuff, and maybe some of it is, but. Gene Simmons, like, for example, here's a perfect example. So my old bass player, Michael, from my band was we were all big Kiss fans, and he was a big Gene guy, but he was into Geddy Lee. He played like Geddy Lee meets Steve Harris, but he loved a lot of the stuff that Gene Simmons does, who does this in every song. He goes, woo, does these big slide, big slide ups.
But that's what Asheen says. Like, he just does the slides. That's all he's known for.
No,
it's not all he's known for.
But he didn't play the bass on Detroit Rock City. You know who did?
Paul did. Did Bob Ezrin play?
No, Paul did.
Oh, Paul did.
Boom, boom, doo. Great bass line. So we were like working on our last Hitman record, and a song I had written. I played all the instruments on it. I gave it to my bass player, and I had a slide in it, and it wasn't in there. And I said to my guitar player, he goes, "Where's the Gene Simmons slide?" He goes, "Put it back in." Because it's a nod to what I love that. I think Gene's a great bass player. He's an underrated bass player, and I'm not. And I'm also not. It's no point in arguing it. He's into like Stu Ham and the guy from Level 42, and that's his thing. And he's a bigger prog guy. He's into I'm just as big a Rush fan as he is, because Rush is my other big giant band, and but I'm not like the big. Chris Squire is his favorite bass player. I love Yes, but I don't. I'm not as big, as deeply into them as he is. But then again, they love Radiohead, which is a band that I don't get at all. I don't get it.
Neither do I.
I don't get it. I missed the boat on that. It's well past my bedtime with that kind of music. I think it's weird for weird's sake. To me, Muse is the more interesting of that milieu.
Do you usually have 115 people watching this show?
Sometimes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Shout out to the 115 people watching. Guys,
Thanks, 115 people. Carrie, my sister, says, why hasn't Bing Crosby's family sold his music catalog? Because he didn't write anything. He had 41 number one hits, Carrie, because they were written by Irving fucking Berlin and Cole Porter. He sang all the classics. Back in the day, nobody wrote. Frank Sinatra wrote one song, "I'm a Fool to Want You," and he wrote it for Ava Gardner, and I think he wrote it with Cy Coleman or somebody huge. Nobody wrote songs back then. Very, very. The only person who did back then was Peggy Lee. Peggy Lee she wrote almost every Fever. She wrote all those songs. So that's about it. That's why. Yeah. So, I mean, when's Madonna going to sell her catalog? She wrote all her songs.
Yeah.
With Patrick Leonard and Chet Pettibone. And
from 1984 to 1993, just hit after hit
after hit. Was it 93? I don't think so. I think Music came out in 2000.
Well, I think she maybe had sporadic hits, but after that, but yeah, she kept going. Kind of like she had a resurgence later on.
She had the Ray of Light stuff, which was big. I think that was 97.
That was more of like, okay, Cher hit it big. Let's do an album that's inspired by that kind of dance.
I agree.
Shit. Yeah.
Oisin hates Madonna too. So does Paul.
Really?
Yeah. I'm a very big fan because I think that she wrote some of the greatest pop of the era, and they're good songs. The stuff she did with Patrick Leonard.
This is where you say, I saw her performing in the club on Manhattan.
I didn't see 23rd.
That.
No. I knew people who knew her, though, because I used to know all the people that hung out on 8th Street. I used to go to Boy Bar, so I knew like all the guys in Delight. And, I remember we knew RuPaul before he was famous. And Madonna was a little bit before our time, and she used to. There was a very famous store there called Patricia Fields. Patricia Fields went on to become like the costumer for Sex and the City, and she does a lot of movies. She's a real rough and tumble kind of character, and she used to give us all these Madonna stories. She'd always be chain smoking behind the counter and go, when that skank used to come in here, she used to fuck everybody just to get wherever she needed to. She needed to sleep somewhere, and I'll fuck you. What about you? She goes, that girl, she shook a moneymaker and got wherever she needed to go. She goes, I love that bitch. So I listen, she eventually found her niche, and she figured out a way to write some of the most unbelievable pop songs. She had Stephen Sondheim write her a song just for her. That's who can do that.
Yeah. By the way, I remember when Madonna performed, her dream was really to portray Evita. Sure. And she worked so hard to convince Andrew Lloyd Webber to cast her in that movie. And when that movie came out, we were, again, most people know I'm originally from Los Angeles. I was playing at the Pacific Theater. We went to go see it at the debut, and I remember it was they turned up the volume so loud that it was like being at a Who concert.
Wow.
And they did the movie with, of course, and it's just all music and just completely blasting at the end. People gave it a standing ovation. It was just that powerful to see. I mean, what she went through with the vocal coaches and everything.
She did a very good job
to get to the voice. Yeah, amazing.
It's a very difficult score, made famous by Patti LuPone, and I love Patti LuPone. But Patti LuPone, in that day, in her Vita era, the record is very pitchy. She's a little off key on a lot of stuff, and I love Mandy Patinkin also. I'm a big, obviously because I'm a trained singer, so I like a lot of these Broadway-esque singers. He was pitch perfect on that. She was very brassy. I think Madonna did a great job. There's no talking, and that's what saved her in that movie, because it's sung through. If there was one sentence of dialogue, it would have sunk it, because she's really a terrifically bad actress. She's really not very good.
Yeah, also the part was kind of complimentary to her personality. She's always known as kind of this materialistic hustler who used her sexuality to get. So the character also kind of fit with her personality. So it's like her dream come true.
My sister has another funny comment. She says Madonna used to perform at Haskell's. Now, Haskell's was a nightclub / bar on Austin Street in Forest Hills, and she used to perform there at the disco with Taylor Dane. I mean, what's the difference between Taylor Dane and Madonna? Back then, probably nothing, but it's called tenacity. Probably, right?
And talent.
Well, Taylor Dane's got way more talent than Madonna as a singer. She's an amazing vocalist. I mean, have you ever heard Taylor Dane sing? She's an incredible singer.
That one hit.
No, she had a couple of hits, didn't she? Tell It to My Heart, and
That's it. Come on.
No.
Oh, you have to Google it, see to remember what it was.
Because no, she did. Taylor
Dane, Dayne.
Yeah, and hits. Hold on. No, she had some big songs. Love Will Lead You Back, #1 song.
Okay.
I'm not defending Taylor Dane. I just, she's a great singer. And listen, I have to defend Madonna all the time in my own house. Listen, when I opt to use the gym, I have this great Madonna playlist. It's the greatest fucking music to want to work out to. It's got Express Yourself. It's got Keep It Together. It's got Vogue. It's
Born
got
This Way.
No, that's yeah, right. That's the same. Listen. When she put that out, I can't believe that she must have been in on it. There's no way, because there's no way she wouldn't have sued her for that, because it is absolute 100% plagiarism.
100% the same song. 100%.
It's the same song. It's not even funny. And she just kind of, Madonna was during her.
But didn't she took a couple of digs at Gaga as a result?
She
on
did.
Stage. She did.
She did. She actually started playing bits of Born This Way. But I mean, they must have made a deal, because that was a huge song. It made a lot of money. And I like Lady Gaga. She's a great talent, I think. And she can act. That's the difference. Even though that the Gucci movie was horrendous. I don't know if you saw that. It was really bad. She sounded like Eastern European immigrant, not Italian girl. She sounded like she's from Bratislava.
I didn't like the one with Bradley Cooper either. That one didn't blow me away.
No, really? I liked it. I thought he was great in that too. And I thought Sam Elliott was good. You didn't like that song? It's a good song.
Nah, I didn't like that.
Really? That's interesting. I mean, that's what makes the world go around. People like black, people like blue, people like Mötley Crüe. I never understand.
Or Black and Blue.
Love Black and Blue. Hey, it got him into Kiss, didn't it?
Yeah, for 20 years.
Can you name one other guy from that band?
No. I never liked them. So
here's a great marker of a great band, and we went really long, so we'll probably end on this. But how many bands can you name all the members of the band?
The Rolling Stones, you can. The Beatles, you can.
I think most people can't name all the Rolling Stones, because they've had too many members that drowned in pools and stuff. The Beatles, Kiss,
the Beatles,
ABBA, U2.
I don't know all the members of ABBA.
Pink Floyd?
Maybe. Yeah.
Pink Floyd? You don't think so?
Yeah. Well, for me, yeah, but for most people, no.
Oh, probably not. They wouldn't know who like Nick Mason is, right?
Right.
They wouldn't. But I think it's like Queen for sure. Everybody knows everybody in Queen. I think so.
For people who grew up in the 80s, maybe Duran Duran. You might know.
They're all named Taylor, so it helps.
That's right. There's 3 Taylors. You just have to remember the first name.
3 Taylors. It all helps. I mean, listen, we've had so much rock, there's been so much music put out over the years. Everybody's going to, and that's what I always say, that everybody's flavor and everybody's takes is what makes the world interesting and aggravating at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, I would say, like, for growing up in the 80s, you knew all the members of all those hair bands, from Mötley Crüe to Poison and Def Leppard and Quiet Riot and all those guys.
Do you think people knew all the names?
No, but I mean, for me,
Bobby Doll was.
I did, but most normal people know. I think they just know maybe Bret Michaels and CeCe DeVille, or maybe just Bret Michaels. I don't know.
Well, he's got a career, and so does his the hat that's attached to his wig.
Yeah, it's the finest
it's one piece,
the finest Italian weave, or whatever he used to say.
Oh, does he admit to it now?
Oh yeah, of course. Oh, he's always admitted to it. He's always admitted.
Listen, I've told this story, and I'm not going to get into the whole thing, but like, I met him, and he was a colossal douchebag. Colossal. So no love, but CeCe DeVille was the nicest guy in the whole wide world, and he's a very good guitar player, and he gets no credit for it.
I saw Poison for the first time. They were completely unknown. They were opening for a band called Loudness at the Pomona Valley Auditorium.
Dude, I could pull out every Japanese version of every Loudness record right now.
Yeah, and they were unknown. They hit the stage, and everybody in the audience, all 200 people in this little tiny club who came to see Loudness, their jaws fucking dropped when Poison hit the stage. Like, holy shit, this is like the second coming of Mötley Crüe. They couldn't believe it, and you knew from that point on, like, this band is going to make it big.
We played with them before their first album came out at Sundance on Long Island.
Wow.
They didn't even Talk Dirty to Me had not come out yet.
But what was the crowd reaction? Did they're like, oh, this is garbage, or were they like, oh shit, this is interesting?
They had fans that sprayed silly string at them, and they actually Bret Michaels used my wireless microphone because they demanded. His manager approached me and said, Bret Michaels' wireless microphone doesn't work. he said, "Give me yours." And I said, "No." He said, "Well, you get no sound check and no lights if you don't give it to us." So I had to give it to him. The band made me do it because I owned my own microphone. Everybody rented theirs. And it came back ruined. I had to send it back to the company and have it completely fixed because it was filled with silly string. And he handed it back to me. He goes, "Now go fuck yourself." Nice guy, right?
By the way, Captain in the audience watching, they mentioned Van Halen, and that's a topic we haven't talked about. They're at basically their end of life. Wolfgang says they're not going to reform.
What's to reform? Eddie Van Halen is dead.
So, like, wouldn't they be a great candidate to shop around selling their catalog and their
big hits,
all their big stuff? I mean, they have 7 or 8 albums of just chock full of incredible tunes
on both eras. Yeah,
both eras. Yeah.
Are you a Van Halen person?
Huge Van Halen fan, yeah. But I never saw them back in the heyday. I saw David Lee Roth on the Aid 'Em and Smile tour and on the Skyscraper tour. Amazing. I mean, with Steve Vai and Billy Sheehan and Bissonette. Incredible.
I saw them open for Black Sabbath.
Really? Yeah.
In Nassau Coliseum.
Then saw Van Halen later, like after they reformed.
Did you see Mr. North open for them?
No, I don't think they ever came. I don't think they opened in North America.
They did.
Did they really?
Yeah. When they got back together with Sammy for that one big last tour.
Oh, that one. Yeah. No, I saw the with
Dave. The Dave. Yeah, I have no interest. I love Sammy Hagar. Love him. Don't love him in Van Halen. Don't care. Couldn't care less about Van Halen with Sammy Hagar.
Live Without a Net was a big deal in like 1986 or whenever that came out. After 5150, that was.
Oh, is Live Without a Net with him?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even realize that. What's your favorite Van Halen album?
Van Halen 1.
I would say it's between 1 and Fair Warning because I think
Fair Warning everybody likes because of those. Yeah, I like 1 and I like.
Everybody likes Fair Warning for what? For what? Unchained and So This Is Love and Mean Streets.
Mean Streets. Yeah, Mean Streets. I think people like the beginning of Mean Streets.
I like Dirty Movies and all that stuff. I love
Dirty Movies are that kind of a little disco-esque.
On the silver screen. I love that record.
Yeah.
So This Is Love is on that record. It's amazing.
And Hear About It Later, which is like
it's a great song.
It's not just great. It's probably one of the best, but it's not a radio hit.
But Unchained is pretty great. When they opened the show with Unchained, it was pretty like, oh shit. Unfortunately, I would have loved to have had a sidebar with David Lee Roth and say, stop it. He was over singing. Like he's going like, Unchained, baby, hit the top. Like you never did that. You're like, well, I'm sitting on the corner and I'm looking so fine. What a world together and it blows my. You were just a talky singer with a bunch of wow. Why are you trying to force like he's trying to sing?
That's pretty good.
It was terrifying.
When he tried to sing in the upper registers, it didn't work. He could have stayed in the lower registers.
He overshot the goal. He was singing like way sharp, way high. He didn't need to go anywhere near that. I don't know. Could he not? Is he deaf? Because his job in a reunion tour is pretty easy. He does not have that's not a hard job for David Lee Roth to go out there and go, this is home, this is Mean Street. But he was going, this is home. He's screaming. And here's a trivia question for everybody out there. And you probably know. Alex Van Halen, what is he responsible for?
I'll let the audience answer.
Anybody know? So a major piece of technology that is used by every single person in the industry, save for maybe 1 or 2, was invented because of a request by Alex Van Halen. There's 121 people in the room right now. Does anybody know what it was? In-ear monitors that everybody uses now.
Wow. Instead of floor monitors.
Yeah, you use them. They're molded for your ear. They go in your ear. Every single person uses them. And it's all because Alex Van Halen said, I can't hear shit anymore. Isn't there any way I could get a smaller pair of headphones? Because he always wore headphones. And the guy that invented this company, Ultimate Ears, said, give me a minute. And he used pieces of a transistor radio and a micro and a walkie-talkie, and he figured out how to make them, and it became the industry standard. And the first band other than Van Halen to ever get them, sadly, Skid Row. Who I hope never get together with Sebastian Bach, because he's another colossal asshole.
Well, they just lost their singer, so you never know. They could see some dollar signs. And
you know what I think, because I knew Snake back in the day, and I'll say those guys have so much integrity, like them or not like them. I think their first record is actually excellent. And did you like that record?
That's the first one is
like I Remember You, 18 in Life, and Youth Gone Wild.
Yeah.
Amazing record. He's a guy with a lot of integrity, and I don't think he'll ever do it, because it's just.
Did they get screwed over by John Bon Jovi?
They got it all back.
Okay.
They got shamed publicly, because Doc McGee managed both artists, and the guy that managed my band used to work for McGee Entertainment. And he told me the story that eventually the pressure for John, who was already a multimillionaire, and Richie Sambora was so big, it was published under their underground syndicate music. They had to give it back, because those guys were like living in trailers and like little bedsit, horrible apartments. And it was just, everybody knew that John and Richie were getting all the money out of it. So Richie was the first guy saying, we're getting killed in the press, man. Got to give the money back. And they did. They got it back. So those guys made serious money. Sebastian made no money because he never wrote anything. That whole album was written before he got in that band. So they won't, if they ever have to, I mean, they could sell their catalog. They had like one album that had 3 giant hits on it.
Yeah, and then the follow-up album, Slave to the Grind, did pretty well. It was like it hit #1 album,
it
right?
hit #1, but
because the SoundScan, remember that?
Yeah, first one on SoundScan. But is there what's on that record? I wouldn't even know. Rattlesnake Shake.
Slave to the Grind. That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
The video of them up on the thing with the chains on the platforms.
Yeah, it was over. The rock was over at that point. It was Nirvana, Pearl Jam. That era of rock was over, and you either figured out a way to jump on that bandwagon or not. And nobody was really successful. Can you name one band that was successful going grungy? I mean, Kiss Revenge.
No, actually, Kiss Carnival of Souls.
Oh, Carnival of Souls. Yeah. I don't own that.
What a fucking great album!
Is it great?
It's a really good album. Yeah.
Hey man,
as a Kiss fan,
one of my favorite Kiss albums is The Elder.
It's only a Kiss fan would say that.
Yeah, well, I love that record, and I bought it the day it came out, and I loved it. Other than that, if I had to pick one album from their entire Kiss catalog, it would be one and Paul Stanley's solo record.
Kiss. Everyone says Ace's solo record is the best. I always say Paul Stanley's
is the best. See,
every single song.
You're talking about every song.
Every single song.
Got a favorite song on that record?
I'd have to look. It's tough because they're
Goodbye.
They're also good. There's the one with Goodbye is incredible. The one with Carmen Appice on drums is good. What's the one?
Wouldn't You Like to Know Me?
No, not that one. The
Love and
the one with the hyphenated title. Hold on. Let me pull it up. I gotta pull it.
Is Tonight You Belong to Me? Move On. Love and Chains. Hold Me, Touch Me. Ain't Quite Right.
Nope. Although that's a great song.
Yeah, they're all great songs. Wouldn't You Like to Know Me? Ain't Quite Right.
Take Me Away Together is one.
Does he play on that?
I think so. Yeah.
Together,
yeah. The drumming on Take Me Away is incredible.
Oh yeah, that's a great record. Did you see the Paul on that tour?
I saw him on the later, the Live to Win solo tour.
That was the end of Paul Stanley greatness. He sounded amazing on that tour.
Yeah,
he blew his voice out on that tour.
That was 2006. That was the end of Paul Stanley as we know it, unfortunately.
I liked Live to Win. I didn't think it was bad.
I thought it was good. It was the thing that I don't love about it is that it sounds a little bit dated because that was the era where everyone talked into the megaphone when they were recording. Yeah, it was like and all the cool pop acts were just doing the megaphone thing.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of that on the record. But
yeah,
other than that, it's a great album.
He played Irving Plaza.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was the end of it. That's when because he was in great voice up until then, and that's when he blew it, and it was over.
Yeah, I remember when the Alive 35 tour started in 2008. He started okay, and then the raspiness and the hoarseness started to come in, and then something happened. Some people say that he actually went through some kind of procedure at that time and damaged when they
He did.
pulled.
He went to the guy in Boston.
Yeah, but even before that, something was he had a procedure for something, and when they pulled out the breathing tube, they damaged his vocal cords. And
why was he intubated for vocal surgery?
No, I think he was intubated. Maybe he was getting liposuction or something else at the time, or hip surgery or something else. And then unintended consequence, was that they damaged his vocal cords.
You never want to get intubated as a singer. I mean, unless you have to,
right?
It'd be better to stick a big pen into your trachea than have that go down, because it wrecks a lot. Julie Andrews, she got wrecked because of that. Very, very sad. Anyway, we're on here way too long.
It's been a fun.
This was so fascinating. And what are you wearing, by the way, wristwatch wise?
The Rolex Day-Date.
Day-Date, beautiful
in platinum with the
platinum
blue
on the
dial.
president bracelet. Beautiful, looking good with a blue ice blue dial. Charlotte, put that up to the camera so everybody can see. Because we do love to talk about watches too. Of course, he's far more. Unlike the Omega guy, that's freaking unbelievable. Wow. That's a beaut, man. Such a summery watch.
This is an everyday watch.
It's an everyday one.
This is the only watch I'm wearing to Geneva. So if you
is that right?
Geneva, that's it.
Well, good luck. Good luck on that. How exciting that you guys are going there and doing the whole thing. You saw the teaser video. Do you think? Sorry, I hit that with because I have this new mic stand thing, so I don't know what I'm doing with It's very fancy, but. Do you think we're going to see anything really exciting? What did you get out of the preview?
I mean, we spent 4 hours analyzing that video. Like, we went through all 662 frames one by one. So we were pretty methodical about it. I think it looks like we're getting some full gold date justs, maybe.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
It looks like we're getting maybe a Sky Dweller on a president bracelet, which would be really fascinating.
That was the clue, right?
Looks like we're getting a platinum dress watch, a platinum 1908 with a guilloche dial.
Yeah.
And looks like we're getting maybe a Day-Date with a display case back. So we'll see how close our predictions are when we're Tuesday at 2:30 a.m. East Coast time, when the Rolex releases happen, and then we're flying immediately after that to Geneva to start the live coverage, starting on Friday night, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, I believe. 4 full days of live coverage from Watches and Wonders on the Tim Wright channel.
So wait, so Tuesday night, is this like Monday night or Tuesday?
Tuesday at 2:30 a.m. So Monday night.
So Monday night. Oh, that's when they release the watches.
That's when
you'll know long before you get to Geneva.
We'll know before we get to Geneva. Yeah, that's actually the first that Tuesday's the first day of Watches and Wonders. That we're flying right after that, and then we'll join mid Watches and Wonders.
Oh, okay. Wow, fantastic. Well,
it's actually 7. I think they go 7 days, 6 or 7 days. Watches and Wonders.
Are you staying in Geneva and all of that
stuff?
Yep,
staying in
Just
Geneva.
You and the Timster. Anybody else going?
No, Red Shovel's going. A bunch of people from the UK are going. Small G from Pennsylvania is coming with us. A lot of people from Germany are going to be there, from the German watch community. So it's going to be a lot of people.
Very cool.
Fun.
And you'll probably see all the other watch community folks and stay out of the real wristwatches of.
See Paul Thorpe. We'll see. Yeah, well, there might be a little bit of drama there. We'll see Paul Thorpe when we're there.
I don't understand, people
from the cartel.
Everybody's a bunch of older men. Cut it out, ladies.
Cut it out.
Fucking stupid.
Everyone's obsessed.
Everybody's
people
obsessed.
Like the drama.
It's just watches, guys.
Watches. Thanks for having me on, Dirk.
Thank you so much. Have a great one, and good luck in Geneva. And thanks for coming on the show. I had a great time, man.
Have fun.
Thanks so much.
Peace out. Have a great Sunday, everyone.
Ciao, ciao. Thanks. Thanks so much to the OC. What a treat to have him on my show. Wow. First of all, he's so smart, so interesting, so educated, so opinionated, and he's got a lot to say. It was very interesting. We just were scratching the surface there, that's for sure. Obviously a little bit of watch talk at the end, but he gets to do that elsewhere all the time, and that's his shtick. Here we were talking about rock and roll, Kiss in particular, and the fallout from the rest of them. It's a really fun time. So I know I missed a lot of chats, so I don't want to miss out on talking to all my beautiful people. Andrew Olkovich says, upvote everyone and subscribe. Thanks for enjoying the show. JHB says, keep up the great work, Dirk. Late to the chat. Sorry if you talked Floyd Metal to Wish You Were Here. Oh, yeah, I love that stuff too. Yeah, I mean, that's part of my era. Some of the greatest music ever recorded. Thank you so much. Let's give that that one. I never used that one, and I love it. I love it. John Doe says 225 million, not a lot when you live in Beverly Hills. I know. Well, that's the problem. People start to live above their means, and when they have all that kind of crazy money, and that's what happens. You start thinking that buying diamonds is a thing. Or buying, instead of buying an Omega or an Oyster Perpetual, all of a sudden you're buying RM and stuff like that, which is really, really stupid. People do that. People just get used to more expensive stuff. You get accustomed to more expensive things. I think it's better to make it and get wealthy when you're older, so you know what the price of an egg is. So I go to Trader Joe's all the time. You know why? Because I get better stuff a whole lot cheaper, and I think that that's great. So I want to get to a couple of wrist shots and some of the Bastards gallery. I don't want to miss out on that because, listen, that's a big part of our show, and I don't get to do it on Monday, so it wouldn't happen till Tuesday. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go do that now. Right. Let me get those in here so I don't miss anybody. Starting with Andrew Wolkowicz. Starting with the Wolkowicz. He's Sunshine Kitty. We love that shot. Let me pull this up because I need to actually use the keyboard. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it a sideways. So sideways thing. This is better, right? So I can actually type. Thank you so much for that. Andrew, where are my earrings? Angelo Minichello. Oh, look at this. Very fancy headphones. What the hell are these things? Bayer Dynamic. I was just talking to you the other day about that, right? Wasn't I? Trying to find out about Bayer Dynamic and who makes those old-fashioned white ones, because those are the ones I want. Look at this crazy shit he's got going on here. Wow. He's a real audiophile. I have to admit, I don't even have I have a CD player. I just recently bought it. I have a turntable, but it's under my couch. And I have a lot of records. I probably have 3,000 records. Probably close to 3,000. Vaughn says, oh, the Seiko. Look at that. I should have kept OC on for the little watch, but it's not a lot. It's not all watches, because he knows way more about watches than I do. I just know about what I know about. And he knows everything. That's a very, very beautiful looking chronograph. Very interesting looking Seiko. Seiko makes some interesting things. It pushes on all sides. Very interesting. Thank you so much for that, Vaughn. I love it. Fergal McDermott, here he is. Window. Look at this beautiful ginger. We love the ginger kitties. Wow. And a Christopher Ward. You love your Christopher Wards. I love that the Trident. And look at that. That's right up my street, and you know it. That's like early 60s Omega automatic DeVille. I love it. That's beautiful. Look at that. Look at the movements on that. Who had movements like that? Nobody. That's when they were the king. Look at that. Your watch accuracy meter straight up the center. Gorgeous. And look at this beautiful kitty cat. This is a life well lived, man, when you have beautiful kitties and beautiful watches and people who love you. And that's all that really matters, right? And Andrew getting ready for the nighttime cuddle. We'll end it on that. Thank you so much, Andrew. Look at the kids. It's nothing better than sleeping animals and sleeping children when you know that they're so comfortable because you're taking care, and that's important. I want to thank everybody for the super chats. Nick Sisto, Andrew Wolkovich, Nathaniel Hannon, Dean, JBB, Al Benedetti, Tim Wright. Thank you, Timmy. Nathaniel Hannon, always the best. Rufus, love you, man. Clam, welcome. Vince, Fine Arts, best Kiss album, Rock and Roll Over. I'm going to say, that's tough, man. I'm going to say Destroyer or Rock and Roll Over. But the first album's probably got the best songs on it. Great chat, chaps. Keep rocking. Thanks so much, Andrew. That's Stevie Chi, or C. Chi if you're Italian. JHB, $4.99. Thanks so much. Heavy Driver, keep driving on down the road. That's a Kiss song from one of the early records called Baby Driver. Or actually, that's from Rock and Roll Over, isn't it? Ray, 2. Thanks so much. Easy E, $5. Thank you all so much. What a fun show. Thank you to the OC for bringing his expertise and his beautiful watch to the show. What about that watch? Was very beautiful. How about that? That's a platinum day date. That's no joke, people. Remember to send all of your pictures and all of your finery to basharddirk@gmail.com. That is the place where you share with me and I share it with the world. Don't forget, we've got the Patreon going on. Jim Lassick, Andrew Wolkowicz, Go Moto Soto, Nick Sisto, Complicated Time, Fergal McDermott. I want to say like Paul Stanley, Nathaniel Hannon, Dana O'Malley, Lord Scotty H., Dean McKenzie, Al Benedetti, Angelo Minichello, and the latest Gasman 308. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for coming to the show. We appreciate it. It was a lot of fun. That was a Sunday Mass, and we're grateful to have you here. So remember, please say please and thank you. Remember to hold the door open. Remember not to be a dick, because you never know what kind of day somebody's having. Just remember to hold the people close to you, and just don't be an asshole unless that person is a total cunt.